LL Cool J is here at 29. He has 6 platinum albums, a hit television show, several film credits, endorsement contracts from Coca-Cola and The Gap, his own sneaker company, and now an autobiography called I Make My Own Rules. He was recently honored with the prestigious MTV Video Vanguard Award and has a CD coming out in October called Phenomenon. I am pleased to have him on this program. Welcome.
Thank you, thank you.
You are one busy man.
Yes, I am.
Tell me first about rap music and where you think it is today and where it's going.
I think rap music, first of all, when we hear this word rap music, this phrase, I think that because of all the things that have happened in the media recently, the first thing that comes to mind is tragedy and violence.
And East Coast, West Coast, and shooting people in cars and all that.
But rap music is a lot beyond that. It goes beyond that. I think that that's just the tip of the iceberg, and that's part of it. That's a certain section of a genre. That's a portion of the genre. And not the entire genre is not negative.
That being gangster rap.
That being gangster rap and that whole stigma, that only really applies to a portion of the genre. I think that the music as a whole is a music that originated in urban environment, urban areas in New York. And it just turned into this phenomenon. It became something that kids could utilize to escape. Yeah. Kids could utilize, like for me, being abused as a child, it was something that helped me escape the helplessness, that helpless feeling of being abused, being able to feel empowered and get on a microphone and say whatever I wanted to say without anyone saying that I couldn't say it. I think that
what's the connection between that and being abused as a child?
Because being abused as a child, it gives you a feeling of being helpless, a feeling of not being able to voice your opinion, not being able to voice how you feel, being afraid to voice how you feel, and then being able to, in turn, sit down with a pen and paper and write a rap song, something that someone else who doesn't understand the culture would think is just so silly and just another little rhyme, like a nursery rhyme. For me, it was empowering. For me, it enabled me to make my pain, to ease my pain, you know.
Is it also part of the fact that for urban kids, it's a sense that this is our own music? This is something that we created and we began, and it's the way we dress and the way we talk and the way it's our music. It's something that's culturally ours.
I don't know about the we, because when you think about young music in general, I think that young music in general, a generation always wants to own its music. In general, whether it's rock and roll, whether it's Elvis, the Beatles, whatever it is, the generation at that time loves to own its music. So I think that on a generational level, or speaking as a generation, yes, it is our music in terms of a generation. On a cultural level, on a racial level, it crosses all boundaries. It crosses the whole spectrum.
Does it really? I mean, how much?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The 55% of the records that are sold rap music is a white audience.
55?
Yeah.
And how about in your concerts?
The same cross-section. I'll do a concert in LA at the House of Blues. It'll be half and half. It's according to it's demographics. It's like selling anything else. Wherever you go where there's a high concentration of certain people, the majority of those people are going to be in certain places. But if you put it like today, well, actually, recently, I did a book signing in downtown New York. Cross-section, you had 30-year-old white businessmen that were going to work. You had 65-year-old African-American women coming from work. You had 19-year-old receptionists and 25. I mean, it was a strong cross-section.
Yeah, but you have a lot of things going for you. You got commercials and you got a television show and a lot of other things. I mean, your appeal cuts across from many sources.
That's true, but you know what? The most urban groups, the most urban rap groups, the ones that say things that the slang is so esoteric that unless you are in direct contact with the culture on a daily basis or living in urban areas every day on a daily basis, the things you would never understand, suburban kids are running out and buying. Absolutely. Absolutely. And the reason why is because no matter what it is, we all want an opportunity to be a fly on the wall. You know, everybody wants to know what someone else is thinking. People, they make movies about mind reading.
Let me come back to gangster rap for a second.
Okay.
What do you think happened to, were those two killings connected, as far as you know?
I think, first of all, I can't answer yes or no because it would be hearsay conjecture. Right. I don't want to do that. I don't know.
What does your instinct tell you?
My instinct tells me that whatever it was, there was some karma there that played out. There was a scenario and a situation that existed, and it ended in the wrong way. I don't know the details. You know, I would love to be able to give you the answer and say, you know what, I am the ambassador from the kingdom of rap, and I've come here to give you the answers on the tragedy. But I really don't know. I would hope they're not connected. You know, I don't know if that makes it any better.
Did it change anything?
It changed a lot.
What did it change?
It changed the hip-hop communities, and I think a lot, on a strong level, a lot of people's perception of how dangerous propaganda is, how dangerous promoting ill thoughts and you know, promoting things that are negative can be, how dangerous it can be not only for the people that are promoting it, but for those that, you know, enjoy listening to it. It's a dangerous premise. You know, when you say things, when you put energy out there in the universe, and that energy comes back to you, there's no telling how it can come back. And I think it's very dangerous, especially for younger kids. You know, but there's a lot of sides to that coin, because until you judge the man, you can't walk in his shoes. And then we got this issue, you know, there's another side. I always hear guys say, you know, well, they have violence in movies, and they have violence here and violence there. For some reason, when rap music, when some rappers make music that, and they depict scenes and images that are violent, it seems like society really, really, really believes that. They're much more willing to believe these tales spun by these 18-year-old African-American males than they are with the tales spun in Hollywood. And that's an interesting kind of, it's almost like a paradox.
The 18-year-old African-Americans are rap artists?
Yeah, I'm saying the rap artists, yeah.
Right. They're more likely to believe that they have some larger influence than Hollywood does.
It seems to me like that, because it seems like the media, and this is not to come down on the media, because, see, people have a habit of loving the media when the media loves you, and then when they say something bad, hating the media. Like, people flip-flop. But I'm saying that it's interesting to me how, you know, a film like Goodfellas, oh, that's just a film.
Right.
You know, a film like Scarface, it's just a film. That's all it is. A film like Heat is just a film. And I'm not, like, selecting different actors in particular. I'm just saying these were violent films. And I enjoyed the films, actually. But it's just interesting to me how you could take the exact same scenario. A rapper could say, and this is not me, but a rapper could say, like, let's think about Goodfellas. There was a scene where the two characters were in the bar, and this character insulted Joe Pesci's character in the film.
Right.
So Robert De Niro's character kept him there, and then when Joe Pesci returned, they stomped the guy to death.
Yeah.
All right? Now, you take a rapper and let him say, you insult me in a bar, my man's gonna hold you there, and then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna stomp you to death. Now, what is the difference? That's what I need to know. Like,
you make a good point.
You know what I'm saying? No, and I'm not saying...
What if it was directed towards, I mean, the criticism often comes from those who criticize rap lyrics in terms of it's anti-women or it's anti-police, and a lot of that...
A lot of it is. A lot of it is, and that's not right. That's not right. That's wrong. You don't want to degrade women. It shouldn't be sexist.
Why is it then?
Because I think that you're dealing with you're dealing with a culture. When you talk about a lot of young males in urban areas, a lot of power. You know what? But it goes beyond that, because I think men in general find ways to degrade women. Because you know what? When you really think about it, you know, as soon as a woman is powerful on television or in Hollywood, she's a rich, quote unquote, bitch.
Yeah.
She's a rich, you know, she's if a woman is, you know, aggressive in business, she's a quote unquote bitch.
Yeah, right.
You know?
In
and then
words,
you take these...
Said another way, what's attractive as ambition in men becomes sort of driven and...
It becomes like contrived
bitchy,
and almost, and almost like negative. It gets a negative stigma when you associate those same characteristics to a woman. And I think that in rap music, which is maybe they're just a lot more frank, a lot more brutally honest.
More of a, I mean, what little I know about rap music, it's much more of a put down than it is in terms of...
I don't know.
Stereotypes.
Which one is six in one hand, half a dozen in the other? But I'll tell you this: I don't think it's right, and I'm not going to condone it. But I do think that you know, a lot of these guys feel powerless. A lot of people, when you feel like there's nothing going right in your life, you have a tendency to pick on a weaker person. Not to say that women are weaker because they can have children, and even if they can't, I mean, you go to aerobics gym and they're like running all over the place, and guys like, but I mean, maybe that's just a powerlessness that makes, you know, some of these men feel like more powerful and empowered by dominating someone that's weak.
All right, let me talk about the book. LL Cool. What does LL Cool J mean? Look at what?
Look at Larry. Look at little Larry. He's cool, ain't he?
What is it?
It stands for Ladies Love Cool James. That's what, when I was 16,
your real name was James.
James.
Or still is.
James, absolutely.
Yeah. Ladies love Cool
James.
James. Was that true?
I thought it was. I used to think that.
Well, now this says edition suitable for all audiences.
Absolutely.
Meaning that children can read this.
Can read that.
There is another one that needs parental discretion.
Definitely.
And what's the difference between the two?
The difference is a sex chapter. The difference is mainly the sex chapter. And the reason why, I decided to make two versions is because I wanted to give parents the right to determine what they wanted their children, if they want them to read the book,
right,
which version they can read, like how explicit they want it to be. Because see, what I tried to do is I tried to lay it out on the line for the world.
Right.
I did some things wrong. I did some things that were negative.
I had about sex?
Sex, pornography, not me filming, but actually watching pornography. I talked about experimenting with drugs. I talked about a lot of things. And I said, you know what? Before I hand this to a young kid or a child, let me let their parents decide what they want them to see, because I think that the only way that I can help them is if I'm honest. If I'm not honest and I make them think that my whole life was a bed of roses, then they won't understand how to get there.
What rap artist do you admire the most?
That's an interesting question. I admire all of the pioneers.
Pioneers.
All of the pioneers, especially because they opened doors. I'm talking about guys like Africa Bambaataa and the Soul Sonic Force,
right.
Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, Curtis Blow, the Treacherous Three, the Crash Crew, the Fearless Four. These were all early rap groups, and they really opened the door, and they should get all of the credit for all of the things that I'm doing now. Just like recently when I won the Video Vanguard Award, right, I spoke about how I accepted this award from, Run DMC and all of these different groups because they opened the pathway. So I really admire them for having the guts and going out there and taking the whipping that they did economically, commercially, so that other rappers could come after them and benefit.
How about Will Smith?
I really admire Will Smith.
Because he took off apart and beyond.
Will Smith is a prime example of someone who is tenacious and determined and makes smart decisions. And I think that that's real cool. I think that he's shown that you can be a rapper who does television, right, and then does film. And that progression, that door right there, that little crack of that door that he left open can help me in the future.
You know what makes me so happy about your success across the board is that I think the most important element in the racial divide is going to be black economic power.
That's interesting. And you know what? That makes a lot of sense because you know what? Once you take an African American or a black man and you say, you know what? You've worked hard, here's your check. Now it's time to stop complaining and start doing. So you're right. You're right. When you give people an opportunity and they take advantage of it and they benefit from it, it makes the playing field a lot more fair, it makes things a lot more simple, and it leaves a lot less room for
And it does
tension.
a lot for the self-esteem, and it does a lot to lance that sort of anger that is there if you feel you have no control over your own destiny.
And that goes back to the gangster rap thing with the females. And you know what? You're right. Because it's funny. And what you just said opened my eyes and gave me a realization just right now that when I was, a youngster making a lot of money or making what I thought was a lot of money, I was treating people one way. But when I got that slap in the face, and when I had to go to the shower and cry, and when I had to take that cold water and throw it on my face and wake up, and I had nothing, or basically was at the end of the rope, I was looking for those same people that I was walking all over. And I turned around and said, you know what? You're going to be my wife. You're not going to be a woman who's treated unfairly and who's going to have my children and be over here while I'm running off with these girls. You're going to be my wife. These children are my children. I'm going to love them. You're my mother. I'm going to take care of you. You're my grandmother. I love you. I'm going to take care of you. And you know what? You're right, because it opens your eyes. You know, and for me, it's kind of backwards, but it still opened my eyes. And I think that it's just a matter of time. We have to persevere. And also, I think for white corporate America, who right now is looking at the rapper on television, or the guy with the baseball hat, you know, the guy with the shiny gold watch who uses the slang on his records. You do not have to be afraid of me. I'm not, you know, because that, and it's interesting, but it's true.
Right.
You don't have to be afraid of me.
Absolutely.
I am not trying to get in so I can stick it in. I am merely trying to participate in capitalism and participate in this world.
Thank you much.
Thank you very much.
LL Cool J will be back in a moment. Stay with us.